Morning guys, Sam here from Landscape Plus. We are on a site in Surrey and we're going to be installing an in-light lighting system in a garden designed by the legend that is Cleve West and built by the amazing team at Surrounding Counties. The starting point of any in-light install is the hub. It's the brain of the system as I describe it, so it's your transformer and it's also your method of switching your lights on and off. In this project here, we are going to be using one of the Smart Hub 150s, so that is a transformer, drops your mains voltage down to 12 volt, and it is also 3 separate switching lines off the bottom here, and it links through to a smartphone app for timers, switching and that sort of stuff. Another option, and still a very good option, if you don't want smart, that's absolutely fine. We here have got the new Hub 75. This one has got a light sensor. So at the point it gets dark, light sensor will trigger, and then you can preset the amount of hours you want your lights coming on for. Difference off the bottom there, you've got 2 separate outlets, but those are both switched together. So it makes it easier from an installation point of view. You can send cables in 2 directions, but both are switched together. Key point to remember. So we're going to be installing the Smart Hub 150 just here. We've got an outside socket, so it's nice and easy. We're going to be popping it on here. Now this isn't so much a problem on this project, but one thing to remember is if you're ever installing a hub above a hard surface, you want to make sure you're 500mm off the ground. Reason for that is you don't want any of the rainwater splashing off of the paving and coming up to where the cables are coming out of the hub in here. Like I say, it's not a problem here because we're going over a sort of mulched flower bed. Another point to remember is the front of the hub is what we describe as the hot side. So that is where the signal's coming out from. What you don't ever want to do is have the hub hidden around the corner with the front of it pointing away from the property or away from the area that the client is going to be switching their lights. It'll just affect your signal. Like I say here, not a problem at all because this is pointing nicely out. Splashing isn't a problem. So yeah, let's get this installed. Our hub is mounted, and then we have one of these really nice hub protectors. This one just slots over the top like that. It drops down slightly lower, and then once we've got our cables in there, we will pop the little cable cover over, and then any weather that gets onto the top of it will just run off the front, and I am just going to leave that one sat on there. Perfect. The one thing that makes in-light unique in my mind is that you actually wire the entire system live. So we're going to plug this one into our outside socket, switch that one on, and you can see here that our blue light has come on the side of our hub. So once we've connected our cables, we'll run them around the garden, and then we'll connect all of our light fittings with that cable live. The good thing about that is that every time you connect one of your light fittings, it comes on and you know your connection is good. So similar to the hub selection, you've got a couple of options when it comes to in-light cable. Today we are going to be using the 10-2, which is the thicker of the 2 gauges of cable. This means that off of our Smart Hub 150, we can run up to 80 meters in distance, and that's 80 meters from our 3 separate zones. So potentially 80 meters in 3 completely different directions. The other option would be your 14-2, which is a slightly thinner gauge cable, meaning that you halve your cable distances down to 40 meters. So connecting your cables to your hub, it's nice and easy. You've got lever connectors on the bottom here. When you pop your cable in, polarity doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter which core of cable goes into which side, pop them in, levers down, and this line is now live. If you ever find that your hub is tripping at the point you put that in, it's always good to check the cable there, make sure you've got no copper fraying and touching across the 2 cores. So we've got our hub mounted and it's tucked away nicely around the back there. Now within this garden, we're going to have 2 separate cable zones. So the first one is going to go out and around the boundary, nice and easy. The second one, we're going to bring out along the edging stone here. We're going to sneak it underneath this big Scelevis step, pop it along through that border, under the second steps over there, and then we're actually going to be terminating the zone where we've left our cable reel there. Now for that reason, we start there and we work our cable all the way back to the hub. In doing so, we're measuring the amount of cable we need whilst we're running it out. We can cut it out the drum and know that we've got the right amount for our zone. So our first line of cable is running and we've got it sneaking through a conduit just underneath here. This is the end of our first zone. So what we're going to do is cut that one, and then you have to cap the end of your cable. So you've got your 2 separate cores there. You just split those two apart, and then in with your hub. They also come separate if you need more, but in with your hub, you'll have got a little cap, a little pack of caps, 2 different sizes, one for the 14-2, one for the 10-2. So we've got the slightly bigger ones here. Bit of a tip, if you just rub them between your fingers to warm them up a little bit, much easier just to pop over the end of your cable to waterproof it and make it nice and neat. We are going to connect our first light fitting on this circuit. Before we do, another little tip for you. Irrigation pegs are really, really useful when running your cable in, keeping them in place, mulch over the top, stops the cable popping up. First light fitting that we're going to connect on this circuit is one of our favourites, the Sway spike mounted fitting, and we're lucky within this garden, it's a nice soft surface so we can just push the spike in. But if ever you're working in a garden that has slightly harder ground, the spikes are really robust. There is also the level attachment. So you pop that over the top, it's got a bubble on top to make sure that you're putting it in nice and square, and then you can hit the top of that one with a hammer, pop it in, making sure you're keeping it nice and square as it's going. Connecting up a light fitting to the circuit, really, really easy. Your easy lock connector, which comes in with every light fitting. Take the cap off top. You've got the little grey cable slider. Now the main job of this is the cable sits within that groove there, keeping it square and making sure that when we push it in, the pins make contact with both cores of cable. You've then got 2 rows of pins in there, and beneath that black plate, we've got a layer of waterproof gel. So as I push the cable down, the pins will pierce through into the cable, making contact with the copper. The gel comes up through that hole and waterproofs it, and the same gel is actually lining our cable. So then it is being waterproof from the inside and the outside, making sure no water can get in there, and it's going to last for a long, long time. So whenever we are quoting an in-light system, we always recommend that you should have a selection of splitters and extension cables. Even if you don't think you're going to use them, sometimes there's times within a project that it just makes your life easier. Here, for example, we've got the main line over the back there, and Joel is connecting up one of the easy lock connectors. Instead of having our main line looping into this bed and then back out, we've used a 3-meter extension cable, and then we're going to pop one of the splitter, 2-way splitters onto the end of it. So we get that one on there. We can then pick up the scope that's over here and the Sway over here without loads of cables going everywhere. So here we've got our main cable going along here, and we need to spur some of the cable off to pick up some of these lights over here within the planting. For that, we are going to use a CC2. So as you'll see here, we have run the main cable through here. We've then got a secondary cable coming through here, heading along that way through a conduit to act as our spur. That is one use for the CC2. Another use for this is if anyone ever damages a cable, cuts through it, that's absolutely fine. All you do is cut out the damaged piece of cable. You would then use a CC2 connector and simply have your 2 cables side by side, connect them back together to complete your circuit. A really great addition to the Sway range, especially if you're worried about upward spill of light. Obviously the light itself is generally pushing light downwards, but if you are concerned, the Sway cap can easily clip on the top, giving you just that nice pool of light downwards, no upward spill whatsoever. A really cool accessory within the In-LITE range that I don't think many people are aware of, to be honest, is the water lock. So it's a gel filled connector. Quite simply, find your push fit connection, pop it in the middle there, close it up, sandwich it, and it completely encases that within gel. So it's completely waterproof and submersible then. It's great if you're popping a light fixture into a pond or if the area is liable to flooding. Pop one of those on and it is a cheap insurance policy. So within this front planting area, we have 3 mini scopes, which are a really popular fitting. But as there's going to be high traffic areas to the front door, we are using a selection of the kill flash and the shield acting as glare control. So it focuses the light just on the area you're trying to light up, stops any spill of light, any glare to people walking past it. A really handy accessory with spike mounted lights, especially when gardens mature. Often the spike light, where it's quite low to the ground, can be hidden within planting. So this is the riser 2. It's telescopic, so you can actually rise the fitting up as the garden matures, bringing the light above the planting, focusing on the area you're trying to light up. A really handy accessory with spike mounted lights, especially when gardens mature. Often the spike light, where it's quite low to the ground, can be hidden within planting. So this is the riser 2. It's telescopic, so you can actually rise the fitting up as the garden matures, bringing the light above the planting, focusing on the area you're trying to light up. So we are finished today in Surrey. We have got a Smart Hub 150 in. We've got a selection of sways, scopes and aim all installed. A few accessories there just to fine tune the lighting system. A couple of extension cables to make install a little bit easier, but everything is on, working, app programmed, and we're heading home.